I was seen as a bully, as a racist. I don't mind being called black. It's not a racial slur. So why would you mind being called white? So she asked me to issue out an apology. Guys, the notes app, and this is why I use the term cancelled, because I was told to write it down in the notes app on my phone and post a screenshot. Do you know how funny that is? If you feel like your voice has been taken away, if you feel like you've said something wrong for speaking out on a subject you feel is right, speak louder, fight harder. You're not in the wrong. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cami and I make videos on here, obviously. So today's video is a heavy one. It's something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I've never had the courage or strength to, because it's something that hurt me really deeply, and I finally decided to just say, you know what, now would be the perfect time with everything that's going on in the world. I need to speak up, not only for my sake, but for the sake of others that might have gone through the same thing as me. I need a little encouragement, so maybe my story would, you know, help in any way, shape or form, or touch someone in any shape or form, or educate someone in any shape or form. That is the point of this video, and not to come for anyone in particular, not to demonize anyone, because I know this video might be sent around to a few people that may have been involved in this story, and I just want to make it clear I'm not trying to come for anyone. Yeah. And this story has honestly shaped who I am as a black person, as a black woman, and I hope, you know, I can impart some comfort or wisdom and knowledge in someone that, as I said before, is going through this as well. So you've seen the title of this video, so let's just get straight into it. It's a story time about the time I got cancelled by my school. I use the word cancelled just because it's more relevant, and it honestly applies, even though it was just for a really short period of time, it does apply to the story. So if you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know about my schooling and how I did the second half of my high school and A-levels in the UK in a boarding school that was majority white. In year 13, in the last year of A-levels, we would have lectures on Friday afternoons where a guest speaker would come and talk to us about anything they specialized in. It could be business, music, the environment, climate change, blah 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 blah. So this particular Friday we had a guest lecturer who came to speak to us about racism and white privilege. Now this was also an elderly white man, and I think that's relevant. It's very relevant to the story, because oftentimes you'll see, if it's a white person, a younger white person talking about this, because obviously we come from a different generation from the past where things were just not right. You all know what I'm talking about. Things were just not right. So I was just so happy. I can't tell you guys how happy I was and shocked and excited that this elderly white man was educating a room full of white students, right, about their privilege and about racism that goes on every day that they would not have encountered. And I know for a fact that the other minority students, at least the ones I spoke to afterwards, we were so gassed. We were like, oh my gosh, because I'll speak for myself. Personally, I was subject to a lot of microaggressions, words that were said that they didn't even know were racist, but I would be told things by staff, students, that I would just be like, yikes, that's not okay to say, but I wouldn't really know how to say it or speak up, because it was the first time I ever encountered, like, you know, a racial issue. And another reason why I was so shocked was because this school was in the countryside, deep country. It wasn't like a city, so they weren't exposed to many minorities, cultures, for the most part. I can't speak for everyone, but for the people I encountered in that school, that was the case. So they really needed to be educated on stuff like this. So anyway, after the lecture, I was gassed, as I told you guys. I was so excited, and I took to Twitter, because, you know, Twitter, and I tweeted, guys, I'm so excited. This elderly white man came to speak to a room full of white privileged students on their privilege and racism and blah blah blah. So I tweeted that. This was in the afternoon after the lecture. Guys, do you know what? I literally cried. I went to my room and I cried because I was so happy. It sounds ridiculous, but with everything I'd gone through in that school, you know, things I've never really spoken about because I felt like I didn't have a right to speak up about it. Every time race was brought up in that school, the students would get very defensive, and you know, because no one likes to be called out on their race, and I get that as a white person they might feel like, what, no, I'm not racist, blah blah blah, and you know, we're just trying to have a conversation, but people will get quite defensive. So towards the end of my schooling, that I shut up about race. I really just shut up about race, and I just kind of molded into the crowd. And honestly, the more I shut up about race, the easier my school life was. And I think that's very telling. It's very unfortunate, but it's very telling. Anyway, cut to a few hours later, I was at dinner with my friends in the dining hall. They say, what's this I'm hearing about this tweet you've sent out? Apparently it's racist. Apparently you called us all this and that. And I was like, what? Like, who told you that? And they said, so-and-so told me this. And I was like, what? One person in that school had my Twitter. One person. For some reason, my school, no one really used Twitter except me, and I don't know, no one really used Twitter in that school. But me and my friends back home, of course, used Twitter a lot. So I would still use Twitter, and I was like, how did they find that tweet? Like, not that I was trying to hide, but I was just like confused, like, oh, okay, interesting. And then they were like, yeah, people are saying like it's really not okay and it's racist and stuff. And it's really hard for me to talk about, but at that moment I just got up. I'm quite dramatic. I got up with my tray. I hadn't even finished my dinner. I put my tray away where we're meant to put trays, and I just walked back to my boarding house, went to my room and just cried. I just cried again. That day was filled with a lot of tears. So from then on, I'm getting word that, you know, it's circulating around school, around my year, and you know, people weren't happy with what I said. And the words I used were white, elderly, and privileged. I went to a boarding school, a private boarding school. We're all privileged to be there, right? First of all, let's talk about privilege and money. We are all privileged that we were able to afford that school, step one, right? Two, every white person has privilege, and it's really frustrating that I even had to explain it then and have to explain it now, but every white person has privilege, and that does not mean you as a white person have not struggled in your life. No one is trying to say that you haven't struggled in your life. We are just saying that race has not played a part in it. But you know, they were reluctant to acknowledge their privilege and took offense to the tweet that I was expressing my joy and happiness that they were being educated on something they needed to be educated about. And they started calling me racist. Do you know how funny that is? Do you know how ironic that is? Anyway, I don't want to get heated. As I said, I'm not trying to comfort anyone in particular. Right. So after that, none of my friends spoke to me for a couple of hours. And it was hard. It was hard because I was being told I was wrong for being right. In retrospect, now, obviously I can look back and see like, I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong at all. But because they were uncomfortable with being called white and privileged, things that they were, I was seen as a bully, as a racist. And it's so funny to me because they were uncomfortable with being called white because white people aren't used to being categorized by their race. They're just not. But around that school, minorities were referred to by their race all the time. I was the black girl in my boarding house, or one of the black girls in my boarding house. Oh, do you know that Asian kid in 3rd form? Oh, do you know that the mixed race boy in 6th form? We were all categorized by our race, and you know, I don't mind being called black. It's not a racial slur. So why would you mind being called white? And that's a form of white fragility, like feeling defensive when someone calls you white. It's just a descriptive term, but they took offense to it. Anyway, things escalated. One of my friends apparently was hysterically upset with me, wouldn't speak to me. Only one friend approached me about it and was like, Cami, just explain to me why you tweeted that, why you would say those things about us. I'm like, those things, those things, that you're white? It's so frustrating that I had to defend words that were not even offensive and words that were correct, and I wasn't putting anyone down. But you know, that friend actually did try and see it from my perspective, and we came to an understanding, and I appreciate that. But as I said, it escalated to the point where I reached my house mistress, and I was called in to speak with my house mistress, and she begins to explain to me that the reason everyone's so upset is because I use the words white and privileged. I was just like, are you so reluctant to help us minorities out by acknowledging your privilege and using that privilege to help us out. You're so reluctant to do that. You're so uncomfortable with the topic of race. Anyway, yeah, I was iced out by not by everyone, but by a lot of people from then on. Back to the conversation with my house mistress. After she explains this to me, obviously I feel like it's everyone against me, including a teacher, including a member of staff that was meant to be there to protect me, like all other students protect the student. I didn't feel protected. I did not feel protected at all. I don't want to make this dramatic. I just wanted to do a story time, but as I said, it's just really painful for me to talk about. I just have to say that at this point, because I felt so deflated and I felt like I didn't even have a voice, and when I used my voice, it was thrown back in my face. I just took everything she told me, and she was trying her best as well. My house mistress was trying her best to see my perspective, but of course there's just a clash there because she could never fully understand, obviously, the Black experience. So she asked me to issue out an apology, to put it up on social media. Guys, the notes app, and this is why I use the term cancelled, because I was told to write it down in the notes app on my phone and post a screenshot. Do you know how funny that is? Like, I'm a celebrity that's just been outed for racist tweets from 2008. I was asked to do that by my school, and I did, because it was everyone against one. So, and I would put up screenshots now, but I was so hurt by the experience that I deleted them later on. So I remember attaching the apology to the tweet in the replies, and I posted on my Instagram story, and this person on Twitter just approached me, and we ended up being friends, and said, "Why are you apologizing?" This is someone I know from Kenya, and they're like, "Why are you apologizing?" I explained the whole situation of how I was made to, and he was like, "Yo, you really don't have to. There's nothing offensive that was said." And thank God for that person, because of that person, I eventually deleted the apology off of my Instagram story and off of my Twitter, and I deleted the tweets as well. I really wasn't in the wrong, and it's unfortunate that I was made to feel in the wrong. I find it so funny when white people get offended when they're called white people, but I have to worry about being called the N-word, being called a monkey, being called this, being called that, but you just don't want to be called white, which is what you are. Like I said before, and I told my friends this when I was in school, I don't mind being called black. It's literally my race. It's not a racial slur. But anyway, I've said that before. It might be dramatic to say, but it's my experience, and I've decided to take the power back from that experience. It was honestly traumatic. I felt silenced, I felt ganged up on, but it all came from a place of ignorance. I don't think it came from a place of hate. No one in that school hated me. I had great times in that school, but it came from a place of ignorance and just lack of education on the topic. But it was still very hurtful, and I think, especially in today's climate, I needed to say this. This is my plea to any white people watching. Please, please, please use your privilege to uplift minorities, to uplift others. And there are so many white people that do that, and I thank you. I mean, it's what we should all be doing anyway, because I would never ever want someone to go through what I went through for just speaking up. Simply speaking up about a tweet that wasn't even a big deal, but people got upset because I called them white and privileged. I'm black, and I have other privileges, you know? But I bet like people don't even remember this story. If you were in that school and you don't remember this story, it's because you didn't have to. You didn't go through it. I went through it. And it's something that I will carry with me until forever. It may not seem like a big deal, but when you're in such an intense environment such as boarding school and you interact with each other 24/7, it blows up until it is a big deal. But anyway, I am so much stronger for it, and I thank the supportive friends I have from that school. If you feel like your voice has been taken away, if you feel like you've said something wrong for speaking out on a subject you feel is right, speak louder, fight harder. You're not in the wrong. Because I felt like my voice was silenced, and I felt like my feelings were invalid, and I was making a big deal out of nothing, and that wasn't true. It was my experience, and I was having people tell me I'm racist. By the way, black people can't be racist. We can be prejudiced, but we can't be racist, because racism is systematic. We live in a system that's built against us and for others. So I can't be racist. That's something I actually really want to say. But I'm just so happy that I finally feel free enough to talk about this, to hopefully empower any black people that are living as minorities in a majority white or whatever area, and say, you can speak up. Sis, bro, I know you're the odd one out, and I know your voice will feel silent sometimes, but speak up. Don't be like me and just take it. I was like, fine, I'll write the apology. I started apologizing to my friends. I had to apologize to my friends and people for writing that tweet. I didn't have to. Please speak up, be courageous, and fight for what you believe in. And that's the point of this video, and I'm so glad I did this video. I can't tell you guys, I was scared. Coming in, I was shaking. I was like, I don't wanna talk about this. You know, I was just worrying about how I'd be perceived by other people. F it. Honestly, f it. Like, it was my experience and I'm finally taking the power back. And for the last time in this video, I will say, I'm not coming for anyone. I'm simply saying my story. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to my story. So dramatic. Oh my gosh, Cami, calm down. But no, it's something that affected me deeply, and it's taken a lot for me to come on camera, post it on YouTube and say it, but I'm saying it. And yeah, subscribe for more videos. Give this video a like. Let me know what you thought about anything in the comments. Have a chat with me in the comments. I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully it's a lot more cheerful and happy than this one, but it needed to be said. Bye!